thank you so much for joining us on Weather Out West, the hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. I'm Savannah Welch, and today we begin in Boise, where it's a first alert weather day. There's a dense fog advisory in effect. A stubborn high-pressure ridge is locking in a strong temperature inversion, trapping cooler air at the surface. Hector Mendoza breaks that down for us.
Well, the fog and some of the sub-freezing temperatures gave us these views here from yesterday. Lots of frost there on a lot of areas. That caused for some beautiful views in some areas, but of course if you're driving through some of this ice and some of those slick conditions, not that great, as a lot of slide-offs and accidents were reported yesterday. But again, a lot of that dense fog has really started to make its way out. Here's a look at yesterday around 9 o'clock in the afternoon heading in through the evening. That fog really continued all the way through early Friday morning. This is a look at around 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning, and then as you continue on and we got closer to 8 o'clock, a lot of that fog really started to dissipate, and then we've seen some hazier conditions, a little bit more sunshine, but much clearer here across the Treasure Valley as we look at our Skycam 7 camera looking off and through Boise. And again, that will continue to really start to burn itself off here through the rest of this morning, but we are not out of the woods yet. We'll continue with the chance of some patchy dense fog here for tomorrow, and then a chance of seeing some of that fog redevelop here into the next couple of mornings leading into the beginning of next week. And again, it's going to be this ridge of high pressure that's going to continue to bring us these very stagnant conditions, a possibility of some fog, and then of course a lot more of those hazier conditions as we see that sunshine continue as the inversion is still set in place here and has strengthened here since the middle of this week. And that is why when we see this sunshine, could see some of the hazier conditions. But as these temperatures warm up as we get later on through the week, we are anticipating the inversion to start to sort of diminish a little bit and get scoured out here as we get towards Wednesday and Thursday. That's what will allow those temperatures to climb up into those mid to upper 40s, and then some of the mountain temperatures will start to cool off just a little bit more. And we see similar conditions across the Magic Valley as well. Not nearly as much of that fog. We did see some dense fog early on this morning, but as we head on into the weekend, it's just going to be some patchy fog with a lot more sunshine. Morning temperatures will continue to stay below freezing here all the way through Thursday. Not anticipating seeing any sort of precipitation across the valleys as we're taking a look at some of these areas here, and that will continue at least into the middle of next week. And then as we look at some of the mountain spots this week, as we head towards Wednesday, we could start to see some changes, especially as we start to get towards the middle of the week. We could start to see some precipitation chances in some of the higher elevations, but it looks likely that it sticks around to some of those sort of rain showers as we continue. But we're going to see some of that sunshine with temperatures still into the teens, so not much in terms of changes in temperature, but yes, we do see a chance of seeing a little bit more of that fog. So again, here is where that high pressure system is positioned. That's what's going to bring us a lot more of those dry and stagnant conditions here at least into the next week. And of course, any sort of precipitation chance looks to make it up and over, but as this jet stream just kind of moves a little bit and it starts to dip into that ridge, that's when we're going to see a chance here for some more of those northern zones to see a slight chance of some of that rain. But again, as we come back to some of the foggy conditions, we'll see that through at least Saturday. This is looking at the morning. Dense fog will return. It looks likely that we see that through Canyon County, places there through Boise, a little clear there through Mountain Home and down into the Magic Valley. But as we continue on, we're going to start to see a little bit more of those clear conditions here as we head towards the afternoon. And then as we head towards Sunday, a lot less of that fog, but still staying pretty patchy as we look at the Treasure Valley.
And over in Spokane, patchy fog is also still an issue, with temperatures remaining on the cool side heading into the weekend. Here's Thomas Patrick with the forecast over in eastern Washington.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington, and we start you with a live look over Spokane, where things are not as foggy today. You can still tell that it is very cloudy, but these clouds are sitting a couple hundred feet above our heads, and it's making a big difference in terms of visibility. That being said, there hasn't really been much fog today, just a little bit over the West Plains of Spokane County. Aside from that, much easier going, especially for this Friday morning's commute, and should be much easier for the remainder of the day. The fog is fading at the moment, clouds still intact, and that is going to keep things a little bit cool. Early this morning, just after 5 a.m., we got an update from the National Weather Service, which actually canceled the dense fog advisories, quite simply because that hour just never materialized, and it didn't look like it was trending in that direction. Fog is so tricky to forecast for. It's very easy to over forecast it or even under forecast it. I like to say that this is sometimes a game time decision leading into our 5 a.m. newscast. And at 5 a.m., decided to drop the advisories. We also dropped our weather impact alert day as well. Now, these advisories are air stagnation advisories. These crop up in the wintertime when our air just stagnates, quite literally. It just sits and it doesn't filter and it doesn't move. So sometimes we can get small drops in air quality. And even monitoring that, most of our air quality sites are still reporting good. Maybe a site or two just barely dipping their toes into the moderate category. Still nothing bad, but because this is going to be a long-term pattern of quite literally nothing going on, I would not be surprised to see small drops in air quality maybe later next week. The fog has just not been bad today, just a little bit by Spokane International Airport, but even the camera images weren't overselling it. This is closer towards Medical Lake. This was at about 8 a.m. Yeah, you could tell there was a little bit of fog in that region, but that was even better than what it was 24 hours ago. So all I'm seeing is that the trend is less fog outright. Yes, there are a few spots that might still experience patchy fog today, but just less fog overall. Now, the clouds are just sitting above our heads, and it's still going to stop the sun from warming us up in any capacity. We'll stay in the mid-30s today, which is average for January. So here we go, an absolutely average and honestly boring kind of forecast here, because you're going to see our forecasts almost match the averages exactly for the next 7+ days. Here's this weekend, 36, 37, so maybe a degree or two warmer, and maybe a little bit more sunshine on Sunday. If anything, Sunday is looking like our sunniest day, and I still go partly cloudy. So what's happening for the West Coast? Nothing. It's just this high pressure region, this big ridge in this jet stream, and you just don't see anything happening across the entire western U.S. Like maybe Montana and Wyoming mid of next week, but definitely nothing around Spokane. So with nothing changing in the forecast, I really had no reason to even change our temperatures, our cloud cover, or our fog conditions. It's just going to be a very quiet week of weather with our high temperatures in that 35 to 38 degree range each and every day.
And up next, we'll hear from our team in Denver, where high winds are elevating fire risk. More on that and the forecast over in Phoenix as well. And let's head over to Denver, where a high wind warning is in effect for eastern and northeastern Colorado. Strong winds could fuel rapid fire growth and make travel hazardous. Let's check in with our team there.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Saban. We have critical fire weather ahead of not one but 2 Arctic cold fronts that will bring some changes to us heading into the weekend. We had one slide through last night that actually brought a few snow showers and flurries to the Front Range, and the second front is due in Saturday morning right before our Broncos playoff game. So an interesting forecast to be sure. But Friday definitely looks like it's going to be all about the wind. It will be 20 degrees colder than Thursday. Thursday we are 60. Friday's temperatures today will be in the low 40s. And then we've got wind that will be ramping up. And so even with the cooler weather, we're still dealing with critical fire weather conditions. High wind warnings continue in northeastern Colorado as well. The worst of the wind and the peak of the fire weather event for us looks to be probably mid-morning around 10 a.m. through about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We have some cold air coming in. It looks like some of it's going to slosh into eastern Colorado, and that means kickoff temperatures for the Broncos game Saturday will be in the 30s. It will be sunny and dry and not as much wind as what we're going to see today, but it will be chilly on Saturday. Today, all eyes on the foothills with potential wind gusts out of the west and northwest to 50 and 60 miles per hour. Pretty gusty on the northeast plains as well. That front that came in last night brought the snow showers. There's a little moisture coming in with the Saturday morning front, and that means there may be a few light snow showers in the northern and central mountain resort areas, but not enough that we have advisories for weather or travel. We'll start this morning in the mid-20s and warm only into the lower 40s, actually cooler than average for a change. We're even colder Saturday. We warm up on Sunday. We cool off for the holiday Monday. Back to sunshine and 50s for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But all eyes on the Broncos game when they take the field at 2:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. And we're telling everybody to bundle up.
Did you feel it last night? That cold front sweeping through, opening the door for Arctic air to come in, and boy, did it plunge those temperatures. At 8:35 last night, we were sitting at 52 degrees out at DIA. By 8:55, we're talking about 20 minutes, it dropped almost 20 degrees, 34 degrees. So that cold front really cooling off those temperatures, and we're going to feel it today with those highs in the 30s, low 40s across the central and northern plains. Mid 40s down across the southern plains, up in the high country, teens and 20s. But yesterday we did make it up to 60 degrees. That was the observed high, 60 degrees, so 15 degrees above our normal. Not quite record heat yesterday. The record was 68 set back in 1912, but yet another day of temperatures in the 60s or warmer. It's still, the jury's still out for January. We're going to tally up those 60 plus degree days, but the numbers, the official numbers are in for December. And we're talking record-breaking heat. So the number of 60-plus degree days this December, 18 degrees. We beat our previous record. That was set back in 1980, where we had 15 60 degree days or warmer. So again, 18 this past December. So if it felt unusually warm this past December, that's because it was.
In the Southwest, Phoenix is enjoying highs in the 70s with plenty of sunshine. There is a slight chance of rain heading into next week. Here's Ginger Jeffries with a look ahead.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west across Arizona, where we were within swiping distance of records across the state, but now things are starting to turn around. Temps going down, they're not dropping out. I mean, we're still staying above the normal range, and we're still going to see a couple of these thin clouds. When the thin clouds move through, we're going to get a little wind reaction, but all in all, my goodness, can you beat views like this? Absolutely love it. Our 12 News weather watchers just flooding our Facebook page with the world's finest forecast. All right, let's take a look about numbers on this Friday, as we are still seeing some 80s pop up. So Gila Bend and Yuma, Parker, you're still going for about 80 degrees. We're still seeing those pesky winds in Bullhead City, not to the same velocity, maybe about 15 to 20, possibly a 25-mile-an-hour wind closer to sundown. Otherwise, Flagstaff has nothing but net overhead with 53, 58 when Winslow. I've got 69 in Globe, 74 in Tucson, and here in Phoenix, about 78 degrees, which puts us at 10 degrees above the normal range. But remember, those records, I've been telling you about them all week long, healthier 80s. I'm talking about the low 80s. So even though we're 10 notches above where we're supposed to be, where we usually are, we're just not going to break that record of 83 degrees. We shouldn't even meet that record of 83. Instead, we're just cruising in the comfort zone. It is going to be a beautiful day today, as highs are going to elevate to about 78 degrees. Wind speeds under 10 miles an hour. Now the winds are northeast, but I'm expecting those to shift by the latter part of your day. As that happens, that's when we're going to start to get a little more moisture in the atmosphere. We'll get some of these thin clouds in the higher elevations, but all in all, it's really not going to have a big impact on the bottom line. Instead, we start you off in the low 50s, warm you up to the upper 60s through the noon hour, and we are headed for about 78 degrees by 4 o'clock this afternoon. Looking for clear and mild conditions overnight as we drop down to about 49. Now let's check it out. Here's those thin clouds that I'm talking about. They're mid-level clouds. They're basically going to brush the rim, but as they push on through, our atmosphere is going to tighten up just a little bit, and that's going to be a natural response for our wind machine to kick up. This should happen after about 11 o'clock through, I'd say, 7 o'clock this evening, but wind speeds are going to stay under 25 miles an hour. We do not have a high wind advisory. Duration velocity just too minimal to demand that. Meantime, for tomorrow, what will it yield? Another round of perfection. Yeah, highs really just aren't going to change all that much. Mid to upper 70s overhead. Sedona about 62. I've got 51 at the Grand Canyon and 75 in Quartzsite. As we look ahead, 7-day forecast, any changes? Well, there is a slight opportunity for some rain-ish chances in the higher elevations. I think because of this, our temperatures across the board will start to scale back a little bit. But as far as any any rain in Phoenix. It just doesn't look like that's going to come to fruition at this point. We're still 10 days out. Remember, the rain I'm talking about is the end of next week, early, maybe weekend-ish zone. So until that time, just focus on the positive. We've got 70s for the next 7 days, upper 70s through the weekend, partly cloudy by Monday, and daytime highs scaling it down to the low 70s by the end of next week.
And that great weather should make for excellent viewing of the Arizona Balloon Classic, which is returning to the Wild Horse Pass Festival grounds this weekend. Phoenix's David Chasanov gives us a look inside the festival before it all gets underway.
This right here in this festival grounds is where all the magic is going to happen here this weekend. We're currently inside a hot air balloon as we speak. We're with Sean Wicks. You're a hot air balloon pilot. First of all, thanks so much for letting us be in your ride. How excited are you to be here this weekend?
Oh, we're excited to be here representing the Gila River.
Tell me what preparation goes into something like this.
Well, when you come out in the morning, obviously we have our pilot briefing. We go over the weather. We want to make sure, safety is our, paramount in doing this. And then we just get the balloon up and get going.
And I understand there's going to be some competitions this weekend. Are you taking part in those?
I believe everyone is, yes.
So what kind of training goes into that?
Basically, you just try to pick the best spot to take off to get to the competition field. They have an X on the field, and all the pilots have a bean bag, and the pilot who gets the bean bag closest to the center is the winner. So you kind of just want to navigate the winds.
That's so fun. So, throughout the festival years, I know it's been a 15-year event now. What's your favorite part about, being able to be part of this event?
It's just fun being out. And we're, getting to see the people come out, make everybody happy, getting pictures with the balloons, taking them up. Balloon is just, supposed to be fun.
And I know some people, like myself, I'm taking a balloon ride tomorrow.
Okay.
What are some things that people like myself should know to get ready for this?
I would say most people overthink it. Just come and enjoy it. When you're in a balloon, there's no sensation of movement or there's no wind chill. So, and if you're scared of heights, you won't have any problem with it.
I was just about to ask you, because I am afraid of heights. I'll admit to you, so obviously don't look down and you'll be fine.
Right. I always tell people if they're afraid of heights, look at the horizon.
It's amazing. How long does a flight take when someone's, in midair?
Usually our flights are anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour.
And I got to ask you a big favor, not to be spur of the moment here, but can we get up in the air a little bit, see how it's like?
Yep.
Oh my God. It's the first for me, so. These flames are so warm. I've never been part of something like this. How fast did it take for it to get up on ground?
It was just a minute here, so you'll feel us getting light right now. Feel how we're getting light?
Well, I feel it. We're moving. We're starting to move.
There we go.
Here we go. We're moving. Man, if this doesn't look exciting, I don't know what does. Well, we're here in the Chandler area. We'll send it back to you. I'm David Chasanov, 12 News.
Coming up, more on a major crash in Pennsylvania where snowy conditions are causing major traffic issues. Stick with us for more weather out west just ahead. Snowy conditions in Pennsylvania contributed to a major crash involving 3 semi-trucks that left 1 person dead. Authorities say one semi was stopped in the right lane due to traffic when it was struck from behind by another semi. A third semi then slammed into that second truck. The first and second semi-trailers were moderately damaged, but the third truck had major damage to the front and driver's side. The driver of the third trailer was pronounced dead at the scene. One passenger from the second semi was transported to the hospital with unknown injuries. Also in Pennsylvania, another major pileup happened along Interstate 90. This accident involved semi-trucks and cars, so snow obviously is making it very difficult travel conditions in the Northeast right now. And in New York, multiple people were taken to the hospital following a multi-vehicle crash very similar to Pennsylvania. This happened Thursday afternoon on Interstate 81 near Lafayette. Authorities say in total, 7 people were taken to the hospital. At least 2 of them had serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The primary crash involved around 18 vehicles, including 3 tractor trailers. There were also a number of smaller crashes, bringing the total number of involved vehicles to around 30. Police believe that weather contributed to all of these crashes. Overseas, Canada is also dealing with snow. A nasty winter storm is bringing heavy snowfall along with strong winds, snow squalls, and bitter cold. There was chaos on highways and roads, and it meant major delays at airports. That impacted flights across the country. A number of schools also closed their doors. That led to the 2 greatest words for a child to hear in the winter. So, of course, kids love to hear the word snow day, but adding to the headache for parents, the Toronto school board says a glitch in its third-party email system means that some families never got the closure notice. And maybe you're wondering what's going on down in California weather-wise. Well, we'll take a look at the forecast in San Diego and Sacramento. We'll also have an update on drought conditions there as well. Well, if last year felt warm to you, you are not imagining it. According to NASA, global surface temperatures in 2025 were slightly warmer than in 2023. That said, NASA points out the difference is within the margin of error, so those 2 years are essentially tied. Even with this ongoing warming trend, NASA says 2024 still holds the title as the hottest year on record. That goes all the way back to 1880. While 2025 didn't break that record, it still ranks as the 3rd warmest year ever recorded. And patchy fog and poor air quality continue in Sacramento with a chance of showers next week. Monica Woods has the latest from Northern California, including more on the state's break from a 25-year drought.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods, and not a whole lot of change in the short-term forecast, but we are going to be looking at some changes deeper in our 10-day outlook. For the regional headlines, continuing to see sunshine along the coast, fog for the valley, poor air developing, sunny and warm for the foothills, and that dry stretch for this year continuing as well. You can see across the region, we still have a lot of green space out there given the very wet start to the new year. Sacramento County, also some haziness, as well as for Solano County, that's heading over towards the Bay Area. Placer County up towards Lake Tahoe. The sun shining there, but we've got some snow at least blanketing much of this year. And now this is a map that really illustrates some of the gains that we saw over late December, early January through those holiday weeks throughout the Sierra Spine there. If we zoom in on just one location in particular, big gains coming in from the Central Sierra Snow Lab. So here's the line right here that is our 2026 snowpack. The average is green, so we're pretty close to where we should be this time of year. The peak, by the way, doesn't happen until about April 1st. We still have tons of time to catch up on some of the dry conditions that we've seen. But all of that rain and snow that we saw at the beginning of the water year, and particularly over the holiday season, we saw this for the first time in 25 years. Last week, no drought representation throughout the state, and it's holding through this week as well. Nice to see that through California. Futurecast model showcasing some of the low cloudiness that we'll see once again through our Friday and Saturday forecast. Just be aware we'll see that clearing during the afternoon. A little bit of a north wind, and that's going to help to scour out some of the fog, but we pick up some cloud cover coming in for the long weekend. A lot of folks have off on Monday as well. It will be a dry one. It's not until next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that we start to see some of those showers pop up throughout Northern California, sliding its way southward then as we head towards the end of next week. Quick mover though, it's basically going to bring a little bit of snow potential for the Sierra, slight chance of a few sprinkles for the valley, but for the most part, this is not a big whopper of a system. So we're going to be likely warmer in the forecast, but it kind of opens things up a little bit, that weather system, to the potential of a likely wetter scenario throughout northern and central California by the end of January. Let's look at the numbers for our Friday. Highs near 50 for this year, a 60s to near 70 throughout the foothills. As we travel through the central Sierra, highs are going to be in the 60s. Inland areas for the valley, we're going to be in the upper 50s to right around 60. And again, be aware of the fog potential, especially along Highway 99 and I-5 traveling through the Central Valley. I-5, especially all the way into Bakersfield, watch out for that fog. Periodically, we'll see it widespread and dense and then partial clearing. Now, for the Central Coast, we've got quite warm temperatures. San Luis Obispo close to 80 degrees for our Friday as we travel north. Gilroy up to 72 right along the coast side there. Monterey Bay Peninsula upper 60s for our Friday. Gorgeous time to visit the coast. That includes the Bay Area where highs will be in the 60s for our Friday. 50s inland, a little bit warmer. Better clearing from the fog is going to give us more access to sunlight. Northwest coast highs are going to be in the 60s. As we head inland, we're going to be upper 60s to near 70. The strength of that high pressure ridge sinking warming air certainly making its presence known here. 60s and upper 50s throughout the capital region. So moving on to our extended forecast, we're still dry through the 5-day forecast. It's not until we get into that 10-day outlook that we start to see the chance of some showers by next Thursday and early Friday.
And speaking of California's water supply, Cornell Barnard shows how the state is enjoying rare conditions, finally getting some relief after years of drought.
Alpine Lake on Mount Tam is spilling over. Cyclists Mick and Logan from San Francisco admit they've never seen so much water here.
I know that we've been in a drought for a really long time, so it's great to see a lot of water. It's really beautiful.
No drought here. Marin Water says all 7 of its reservoirs are now at capacity.
I think it's awesome. We just walked the trails here, and you had to avoid the puddles. And that's been a long time, and the spillway is absolutely gorgeous.
She's right. The spillway from Lake Lagunitas looking like a waterfall. Marin Water says fall and winter rains, which brought recent flooding, have delivered 31 inches of rain to the Tam watershed. The same period last year, it was 23 inches.
As long as the skies are sunny and blue, they'll be holding on to that water to keep the reservoirs topped up.
Stuart Tiffin from Sonoma Water says its reservoirs also at capacity. Releases are closely monitored to prevent any flooding on the Russian River. Winter is far from over, but it's never too early to talk conservation.
Our policy is that there's never enough water to waste, so in a way we're always in conservation mode.
Drought conditions are vanishing statewide. Check out releases happening at Oroville Dam, the state's second largest reservoir, rising 137 feet since December 20th, capturing 300,000 acre feet of water. Governor Newsom saying California's water strategy is working. We're not just managing for today's conditions, we're building a system that can handle whatever our changing climate throws at us.
I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling like we are out of drought, but we still have to be cautionary, and hopefully it'll last for a couple of years.
And San Diego is set up for a warm, dry weekend, though those familiar coastal clouds will start to sneak back in. Vanessa Paz has an update from sunny San Diego.
Happy Friday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. We have been spoiled with not only sunshine, but just warm weather across the board the entire week. And we're not really going to have any change from those conditions when we enter our 3-day weekend, a big holiday weekend for a lot of people. As we take a look at our weather headlines, here's what you need to know as we kind of wrap up the work week and say hello to the weekend. We will have some low clouds and patchy fog extending anywhere between 5 to 10 miles inland. The reason for that, those offshore winds are starting to back off. So it's allowing some of that weak onshore flow to develop, bringing in some of those cold clouds from that coastal eddy that that's been developing over the past 24 hours or so. As we take a look at winds, they will shift out of the east again, bringing another round of Santa Anas, but that won't happen until Saturday afternoon, and it will be pretty short-lived. We had a prolonged Santa Ana wind event that touched base last weekend, and it lasted throughout most of this week, but this one's only going to last until about early Sunday, and then they'll subside, and that will allow for some gradual cooling as we get into next week. So as we take a look at the satellite and radar composite, this is from about 9, 10, 11 o'clock this morning. We had some low-level clouds develop, but you can see that most of San Diego was under clear skies. As I mentioned, the same time yesterday, we had those winds tracking out of the north-northeast. Not only have they subsided, but they're now tracking more out of the north as well as the west. So that's the reason why if we have any clouds developing, looks like they will be, again, hugging our coastal communities, mainly all due to that offshore flow kind of weakening a bit. All right, so we have this area low. Remember, when those winds make it down to the surface, they speed up, especially when they descend down the mountains, and that's what causes those really warm and dry conditions, also known as Santa Ana's. So we're looking at the secondary round of Santa Ana's peaking Saturday afternoon, anywhere between 30 to 40 miles per hour along the coastal mountain slopes, and anywhere between 15 to 25 across the inland valley floors. We would say that fire danger is elevated, but fortunately we've gotten some substantial rain over the past 3-4 weeks or so around Christmas Eve and New Year's, and that helped us out in a major way when it comes to our vegetation and moistening up the ground. As we take a look at the wind gusts, again, those winds peak Saturday afternoon around the 4 or 5 o'clock hour. Notice the color contour there. We want to pay attention to those pink reddish colors because that's where we could see gusts anywhere between 40, maybe 45 miles per hour or so. And then they subside looking into Sunday. Here's what's on tap for tomorrow's forecast across our microclimates. We'll be touching close to 80 degrees for the coastal spots, mid 80s for the inland valleys. So subtle daily changes over the next 7 days when it comes to the coastal areas as well as the inland valleys. We really won't notice a drop in temperature until we get to about Monday and Tuesday. That's when we go from the high 70s to the low 70s by the time we get to next week. For the inland valleys, we'll be in the mid 80s, dropping into the 70s by Monday. But take a look at that spread when we compare Saturday and Thursday. We're talking about a 10-degree drop or so. So we are going to have a relief as an area low dips south. It's not going to pack too much moisture, though, which is why we'll likely remain dry. The mountains and desert areas will be in the mid 70s, some slow cooling this weekend, and then temperatures ramp back up Monday and Tuesday before they drop back down by the time we get to the middle of next week.
The Northwest should also catch a little bit of sunshine this weekend. Perfect timing for the big game at Lumen Field. Yes, we're talking Seahawks versus the 49ers. We'll show you what to expect weather-wise up next. In Seattle, we're tracking something unique in January. You don't see it that often. Sunshine and dry weather, especially for multiple days back to back. There was some fog this morning, but it's expected to mix out by the afternoon hours, making way for clear skies. Ashley Ruiz has that forecast and what to expect for game day on Saturday.
A very happy Friday from Seattle. I'm King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz with a look at your forecast. It's going to be a beautiful one this weekend, which is rare for January, where we have sunshine, no rain, and not super cold temperatures as well. And we have a big weekend in store for us. Seahawks take on the 49ers here at home at Lumen Field tomorrow. Thankfully, the weather will cooperate. Our rain chances won't even return to the forecast until as early as next Thursday. It is not a good thing when it comes to our snowpack, which I will touch on coming up. But let's take a look at the big picture over western Washington. You see the bright whites there. That is all that fog we had this morning. I wanted to take you above all of that fog in the low clouds. We have bright blue skies waiting for us, Mount Rainier waiting for us. Always a good sign when the mountain is out. We just have to get rid of some of the low clouds, the fog. We have winds that are going to come out of the east, so our gap winds coming through the Cascades, and they could accelerate maybe as high and as strong as maybe 20-30 miles per hour, as well as closer to the coast. So with an offshore wind, we're going to have drier air in place, and it's really going to be a nice day. But this ridge is going to keep things very quiet over the weekend, foggy mornings, and then into next week. It will finally begin to weaken or flatten by the middle half of the week, and the disturbances that could move through, they will brush the area. So it still looks as though potentially into late next week, we're going to have ridging, if not being on the eastern periphery of this ridge, depending on how far to the east or west that it builds. That will tell us we'll have a weather pattern flip, at least allowing for clouds to return and some moisture. A lot can change between now and then. We'll keep you posted. But until then, enjoy the sunshine. We don't get it all too much, a forecast like this, all too much in January. Highs will be in the 40s and 50s, but our mornings are going to get colder, especially into next week, and we'll have patchy morning fog. Our temperatures, daytime temperatures, will start to come down by the middle half of next week as we start to get that weather pattern flip, even if it's just more clouds in place. That will keep things on the cooler side. High temperatures today, our average is about 48. We'll top out in the low and mid 50s. Some spots that are trapped under the low clouds and the fog may only warm up into the upper 40s, but tonight we're mainly clear except for some areas of patchy fog. Temperatures low and mid 30s, close to normal. And then Saturday, wall-to-wall sunshine once again, maybe a few beautiful high cirrus clouds, but we're not expecting anything that should obstruct the sun all too much. Up in the mountains, also going to be quite warm. So if you're planning on going for a hike or even skiing, even though the snowpack is lacking a little bit, you'll have the Bluebird special. 49ers versus the Seahawks again tomorrow, this Saturday, and the weather really is going to be great. Kickoff at 5 o'clock. The winner goes to the NFC Championship, so there's a lot at stake. I went back to some of our climate data here in Seattle, and then I looked at the Seahawks playoff games at home, including the wild cards. Definitely not going to be the coldest. That one was in 1983 on Christmas Eve, a win against the Broncos. The warmest and a record high temperature was in 2014 for the 2013 season against a win against the Saints. Definitely not going to be the wettest and not going to be the snowiest. So it's going to be a nice treat for us to see sunshine for our friends coming up from any 49er fans coming to visit, or if you're coming in town to cheer on the Hawks. The weather will cooperate except for a little bit of fog. So for your drive up or anything like that, just watch out for that. Looking at the big picture, once again, I'm just taking you through the Futurecast to show you how quiet it's going to be here in Western Washington. You see a spin offshore, so a low spinning offshore, well offshore, that's going to stay well to the west of us, and then a disturbance riding that trough that's going to dip over the central portion of the United States, going to stay to the east of us by the middle half of the week. And even beyond that, it's pretty quiet into Thursday, and that's when we're thinking the earliest that we could have some rain returning to the forecast. Until then, our snow levels are going to be outrageously high for this time of year. Wednesday and Thursday, that's when our snow levels could start to come down, but even then we need the moisture with that. Looking back, this is the Northwest Avalanche Center's report that they issue twice a month on the 15th. This is our snow depth. This may seem like a lot, it is not, especially not for January. We are really struggling. We're really lacking in terms of our snow depth, and not just here, but for much of the western region. This is a look at the percent of normal, so a 30-year normal. Mount Baker, over 50% of normal, but Snoqualmie, Stevens Pass, and Crystal Mountain, just less than 50% of where we should be this time of year. And so there are some positive signs as we head into the second half of January and wrapping up the month. There are signs and signals that we could have a weather pattern flip back to where we should be this time of year. So it's not a total loss of our confidence and of the snowpack. We still have that chance to build on that snowpack. It's only January, so we still have time. And the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal precipitation for what's normal. And then temperature-wise, either side of normal. So maybe a couple of degrees below normal, nothing, basically no major swings in our temperatures, maybe just where we should be, if not above normal in terms of our rain for this time of year. Again, looking to next week, temperatures will start to come down. Our mornings are going to get colder as well. Enjoy your weekend.
If you're heading into Seattle for the game this weekend, how you get around may matter more than when you leave. Transportation agencies are warning fans to plan ahead because traffic, construction, and massive crowds are all expected to collide this weekend. Sebastian Robertson has all the details on what you need to know.
Days before game day, fans are already scoping out the venue.
As much of a high as we were on with the Mariners, I don't want to let down the same way. I want to go all the way to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl.
It's the playoffs and a West Coast rivalry. The Hawks host the 49ers, and fans are already paying premium prices for tickets, strategizing how to navigate the traffic.
We're gonna drive up here. Sounders a little bit too crowded for me, but it's still an easy way to get up here. And find parking and walk as far as we need to walk.
Along with the usual game day traffic, there are some added complications. Revive I-5 crews won't be watching the game. They'll be hard at work Saturday on the northbound lanes.
You know, even if we said we're not going to work this weekend because there's a big playoff game in town, that's not going to help traffic because we have a concrete barrier down the middle of the northbound lanes of the Ship Canal Bridge. Those lanes are not opening again until we finish the work out there.
Washington and Sound Transit are advising fans to opt out of driving, hop on a bus or a train instead. Merch stores near the stadium are ready for their own game day, happy to receive the foot traffic.
I think this weekend we're looking to break records as far as customer-wise.
Fans are okay with braving the crowds if it means the Seahawks stay on the road to another Super Bowl appearance.
You know, the 2000s, we've been up there with all the top teams, and it means a lot for the city. It brings everybody together, you know, so people that you don't know, like, you know, they're friendly to you and everything, so it means a lot for the city.
The energy will be here this weekend. The resounding message from WashDOT, Sound Transit, all the agencies, they want you to take public transportation. They insist that'll be the safest and fastest way to get to the stadium. Back to you.
And continuing our tour down I-5, Portland is also expected to have some nice weather on this holiday weekend. Clear skies today with highs in the mid-50s. Gusty east winds are really helping deliver all that sunshine. Here's Rod Hill with our Rose City forecast.
I bet you nobody is sunnier than Portland today. Good morning on a Friday. I'm Rod Hill. What a sunny, beautiful day we have. Not only today, but we'll be pretty much perfectly clear tonight, perfectly clear on Saturday. We might get back into some fairly widespread valley fog Sunday morning. If we don't on Sunday, we probably will on Monday. But this is an all-out dry forecast. High pressure ridging arcing around us. And it's interesting because when we say high pressure ridging, think of it as basically kind of a mound of air. If you're looking at 3D dimension, you've got this mound of air and you got these clouds kind of hitting it and they can't penetrate it. So you can literally draw the line, kind of trace the outer periphery with the clouds around the high pressure ridge. And that's what we're seeing out there this morning. The one problematic area we have is the east wind. There's actually a wind advisory. This is immediate opening of the Columbia River Gorge. If you're familiar with our area, on I-84 going into the gorge, you cross the Sandy River Bridge. And it's right in that specific micro area. The winds are gusting 40 to 50 to 55 miles per hour today. You get literally just away from that by a couple of miles, and the winds are non-existent. And we're just enjoying sunny skies, and we'll be under 50-degree temperatures again today. The one thing Futurecast is showing is what I call a low cloud lockdown when we get these temperature inversion patterns. So these are low clouds, Kennewick, Pendleton, back into at least the Dalles, and maybe extending into Hood River and down into parts of Central Oregon. The temperature inversion produces these low clouds. They come in the morning, and if you're 37 in the morning, the clouds just hang all day with no wind, and they're low, and they keep you from warming to where it could be 37 in the morning and literally 39 in the afternoon. So that's the type of weather we have going on here. Air stagnation is obviously a concern in these weather patterns as well. So we're watching that today. Here's what the wind forecast is showing from our weather modeling. We know already today, Troutdale, which is the airport near the Columbia River Gorge, has hit 49 mile per hour wind spikes. This shows winds as high as 54, 55 miles per hour into the afternoon. And the main takeaway, not only strong winds, but this is relentless. So if you're out and about in our East Multnomah County, that is just relentless winds. Our newest camera, the Seaside camera, I don't know if when we put it up, if we knew it would become our surfing camera, but it has. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 surfers out there right now along our north coast. It's going to be a beautiful sunny day at the coast. Beautiful sunshine over our state capital this morning as well, where it's frosty and temperatures have dropped down to freezing. Here's our Vancouver The Springs at the waterfront camera. The first spot that started to show the clearing yesterday, and we've been clear ever since. So a gorgeous Friday. Tillamook 59, maybe 60 for a high. Newport 58, North Bend 64. Wow. 50s up and down I-5. Foggy this morning, Eugene, expected to clear out. And then we've got the low clouds that I mentioned from Pendleton out into the Dow. Sunshine in Burns, John Day, and Baker City. All right, our 7-day forecast numbers. Here we are, all dry into the first part of the week. Clear today, tomorrow. By Sunday, the east wind should noticeably be fading away. That could lead to early fog in the valley. Certainly, I think it will by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monday. And then we have shower chances building on Wednesday and Thursday. But all of a sudden, what looked to be a shower chance this good now looks to be a shower chance much smaller. And that is your update.
4 NASA astronauts are back on Earth sooner than expected. Why the mission was cut short, that's coming up next. 4 astronauts are now back on Earth after splashing down just off the coast of San Diego yesterday. They weren't supposed to return until next month, but as San Diego's Shannon Handy tells us, the crew came home early because one of the astronauts is dealing with a medical issue.
This is the first time a medical issue has cut short a mission on the International Space Station, but due to privacy, NASA will not say what that medical issue is. What they will say is that the crew of 4 is safe after landing right here off our coast.
And if you're in California, you can go see this.
This is what Thursday's return looked like via satellite images. From the ground, people all over Southern California could see the capsule as it barreled back to Earth before making a splash landing off the coast of San Diego.
That's NASA astronaut Zena Cardman wrapping up her first mission to space.
The 4 astronauts, which include 2 Americans, 1 Japanese, and 1 Russian, smiled as they disembarked. NASA made the decision to bring them home a month early after the space agency announced it was canceling a planned spacewalk due to a medical issue. They had been in space for 167 days. Upon return, the astronauts were removed one by one onto the deck of a SpaceX recovery ship, then taken to a local hospital. NASA will not say which one is dealing with medical issues, but did give this update during an early morning news conference.
All crew members are currently undergoing the routine post-splashdown medical evaluation. The crew member of concern is doing fine. We will share updates on their health as soon as it's appropriate to do so.
Earlier, NASA had said the return had to do with, quote, a medical issue in the difficult areas of microgravity. Today, they reiterated, despite the early return, the mission, which involved hundreds of hours of extensive research and maintenance on the International Space Station, was a success.
Spaceflight will always carry some degree of uncertainty. That is the nature of exploration. Fundamentally, it's why we're in space, to learn. It's why NASA prepares for the unexpected, so we are ready to respond decisively and safely. The successful return of Crew 11 is a direct result of that preparation.
We, of course, will share more details as they become available. Reporting from La Jolla, I'm Shannon Handy for CBS 8.
That does it for us here on Weather Out West. I'm Savannah Welch. Thank you so much for being with us today and have a great weekend.